These orishas, quiet as kept, reside inside of you. You see what I'm saying? They reside inside of you. So therefore, that is the reason why you shouldn't give them what you wouldn't drink yourself. Now, if you don't drink this, then get some juice or whatever. But mind you, me, 99% of all African systems, they require the spirit, including ancient Kemet. You see what I'm saying? The Yoruba tradition. And as we said in Milo Regard's book, Voodoo in Haiti, which I think is out of all the ones, this is probably the better one. Because it gives you the Vibes. And the Vibes are what you call sigils, or you know them as symbols. And most of the books, the other two books are good anthropological books, but they don't give you the Vibes and the symbols. This particular book gives you all of the symbols and stuff like Dambawala Wade. As a matter of fact, when I Xeroxed them mainly out of this book. So I think that this is a good little book for $12 or maybe $14 now. You know, they go up every couple of years. And I think this is a good book also to also have also. But even when we talk about it and it goes into this particular part about the African traditions, they got about, let's see, the Nago people 1, the Igbos 2, Congos 3, the Homies 4, Senegalese 5, the Hausas 6, the Kapilis 7, the Mandingas 8, the Mandagals 9, the Angolese 10, the Libyans 11, the Ethiopians 12, and also the Malgaches, and moreover, you have different aspects. There's even some more rites because this stuff migrates from east to west. So we even have your Kamites. When they use the word Ethiopian, that also means your Egyptian. So all of these require mainly rum. So if it's good enough for them to require that, then it's good enough for me to take a damn sip. You see what I'm saying? And what does this all mean? This all means, and it's not anything, this has nothing to do with just joking around or anything like that. When I speak these things in metaphysical truths that's hidden in sometimes humor. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why that also happened. One of the keys when I was talking, and for the people that have gone and seen the text, there's a reason why I talk about not making the bed and one eye on my stove, and come to find out we got two eyes on the stove. Because Daryl, my boy that's visiting that you met, he found another eye and all when he accidentally turned on the eye that wasn't on. The reason why I give this is based on certain metaphysical principles. You remember a time in your life when things were simple and you vibe based on things being spiritual. But you went through a process called high school for some people, college for another people, the job for other people, and certain degrees, motherhood for some people, fatherhood for some people, and you lose that connection to that particular world. So I say it is good to get into practice of living like you in junior high school in your physical elements, not necessarily thinking like you in junior high school. So I give these based on metaphysical, and I'm not saying this as a response to what went on last night. I'm saying this because I'm not going to, I teach on this, so I'm not going to alter my teachings. And so you do this and all because you have to, in a world like this, a physical, economical, dog-eat-dog, competition, Euro-centric, civilized, barbaristic world, you have to use balance. That's the meiotic balance. And the meiotic balance sometimes is around your home. Sometimes you need to not dwell on the things that you so-called say that make you grown. Because when you ask the question, then what is being grown? Just like, what is reality? Remember they said that on the Matrix. What is real? So it's based on your concepts. You see? And sometimes we get caught in adulthood, and that's why I remember on the Matrix, he said, we try not to teach people after a certain age because the mind has problems letting go. So the mere fact that I said about not making the bed it was a metaphysical concept of letting go certain things, and it's not necessarily mean, and it has nothing to do with whether if you don't make your bed, if you make your bed, you're not letting go of that. But the point was coming from an element. I just use that as a metaphor and an example. That's why I did it. The point is, I always say to you, you need to try to get back to that part in your childhood. It might be in your teens, it might be in your primary stages or whatever, when you was free to come into a new reality if you're going to do something. Even Albert Pike said it, and he was one of the biggest. He started the Klan, but don't let nobody fool you. The Scottish Rite Freemasonry, they were dealing with ancient Moorish science. And based on the ancient Moorish science, there was something that the initiates would come in and say, hey, you want to be an initiate? They go, well, listen, your cup runneth over. See, you can have information. Information is information. It can be years of ignorance. You see that with what we call Christianity and all types of dogma. You see what I'm saying? If the subconscious mind acts on what the conscious mind gives it, it also acts on wrong information the same way. And once that information is in there, it rejects any new information coming in. So sometimes you have to pour your cup out. That's what Yoda said on Empire Strikes Back. You must unlearn. You understand what I'm saying? And a lot of this unlearning with us is several age-old practices that don't really mean a hill of beans. You understand what I'm saying? Because we are into that image. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes that image, you see what I'm saying, you can get caught in the actual image and don't see the lessons and the layers that you need to get to when it comes to the soul. This is basic metaphysics. Even when you go to psychology, a psychiatrist. First of all, clinical psychiatry, one of the great clinical psychiatrists was Jung and Freud, and both of them studied the ancient mysteries, especially Jung. You see, even Jung went over to Kemet and bought a whole papyrus. It's called the Jung Codex, a Gnostic papyrus when they dug these Gnostic scripts up in 1945. So even they understood, but one of the basic concepts of clinical psychology is you must face your inner child. And you must face your demons. You heard these things. And they say you must get past thousands of layers. And a lot of males have this based on masculinity in the concept of the ego, because sometimes you have to have this, especially with us, because you live in a hard environment in the streets. And if you don't have a certain protection, you see what I'm saying, by emitting a certain aura about yourself, you can get swallowed under. But on the other hand, sometimes you need to break down these walls, and the sisters have egos too. It's just in another level. See, they say, you know, that male ego, the sisters got egos too. It just might be on another domestic phase, but it's still an ego. And all adults have to break down this wall to get to the inner self. Now that's basic 101 science. And even this word metaphysics, we're just talking about ancient mystery system. You understand what I'm saying? We're just talking about ancient mystery system. Even they had one on the Shaolin Temple on Kung Fu. They had a guy broke in the temple and was stealing some stuff, and the old guy came and gave him everything in the temple. And they was like, what is that? He's saying, you don't understand. You're ready to chastise this person, and ultimately, it's not about these things, these trinkets that you think it's about. You thinking that the temple is about what we got up in here. You see what I'm saying? So that has a lot to do with that. So what we're going to do is right now, we got the water, so let's do an invocation to Ishu, invocation to Ishu, also in Milo Regard's books, as well as the book Voodoo in Haiti, also Vodun in Haiti, also. There's an invocation also too. So I'm gonna do the invocation, and then and then we'll start with the ashes, and you know what I'm talking about. Ibaku, Ibaku, Malambu, Ishu, Abiku, Marambu, Ibaku, Ibaku, Marambu. Now, first of all, when I'm reading these things, it's almost impossible for me to phonetically say these things if you don't really study the actual language, but you don't have to worry about it. We're dealing with the spirit realm, and we're actually dealing with the spirit realm of these things channeled into your inner self. So by these things channeling to your inner self, your spirit automatically picks it up. You understand what I'm saying? So you don't have to worry about whether you're saying things right or wrong. We'll get into that ritualistic aspect today also too in a few minutes. You see, so however you say it is the way that it gets it and it understands. You understand? And C. Freeman L. used to say, your soul knows what the hell you're talking about. You see what I'm saying? So Ibaku, Ibaku, Marambu, Ishu, Ibaku, Ibaku, Marambu, Ibaku, Marambia, Amkoti, Kantu, Ibaku, Amkoti, Aku, Marambaya, Ishu, Kaluna, Ibaku, Marambula, Amol, Ko, Abiku, Marambala, Akol Ka, Abiku, Marambala, Aka, Ishu, Kula, Ashi, Abiku, Marambala, Ashi, Ishu, Kalamla, Ibaku, Malamba, Omo, Ka, Ki, Oko, Achi, Oran, Aro, Amang, Lelo, Ishu, Kalaka, Ishu, Como, Ashi, a few more lines. Akana, Le, Aku, Ashi, Ibaku, La, Gana, Ishu, Lero, excuse me, Arako, Laro, Laro, Ilaro, Aniku, Laro, Aniku, Laro, Aikio, La, Guana, Iro. Okay, now we start the Ashes now, you know, in a loud voice now. Ishu, Oshe, Ishoro, I say Isho Pon, I say Alaka, Isho As Alaka, I say Isho Asri, I say Isho Gego, I say Ishu Wara, I say Ishu Ajala, I say Ishu Adedi, I say Ishu Adra, I say Iku Abida, I say Ishu Ajaza, I say Ishu Ilikun, I say Ishu Ojoji, I say Ishu Lalu, I say Ishu Pakasi Aiwa, I say Ishu Kayi Dui, I say Ishu Ilegba, I say Ishu Malemba, I say Ishu Ero, I say Ishu Anaki, I say Ishu Okono, I say, okay, keep on going, all right, let's go. Marasha, I say Papagate, I say Big Gate, I say Dambawalawedo, I say Marasha, I say Bidget, I say Adamgwerdi, I say Ogushelo, I say Urzulu, I say Shango, I say Azili, I say Edawedo, I say Legba, I say Zaka, I say Etha, I say Loa, I say Alafi, I say Oladumare, I say Adudawa, I say Arunla, I say Agun, I say Shango, I say Olashun, I say Legba, I say Yeminya, I say Oya, I say Risha Oku, I say Babaluaye, I say Oshosi, I say Olarun, I say, let's go on. Let's see, hold on 1 minute. Want to call out some other brothers right quick. I don't want to leave them out. Right on hand, let's see. 1 minute. Well, I'll get them. Okay, Ani Tutu, I say Ami Tutu, I say Ili Tutu, I say Tutu Alegba, I say Kosi Ka, I say Kosi Arun, I say Kosi Iyo, I say Kosi Ofo, I say Kosi Intana, I say Aka Babawaya, I say Aka Kosi Fatima, I say Mojobo Alafi, I say Mojobo Ogo Orisha, I say Mojobo Itu, I say Mojobo Ogo Iku, I say Nila Ramale Odomorale Arun, I say Nika Mase Ogobo, I say Babalasa Ogo Iolasa, I say Nika Masi, I say Sephra, I say Ain Sada Uda, I say Keva, I say Shakma, I say Baina, I say Chest, I say Gebera, I say Tipperit, I say Naxad, I say Had, I say Yased, I say Malku, I say Sekmet, I say Salshet, I say Patah, I say Ketanin, I say Upwarit, I say Siva, I say Mintu Siva Ra'a, I say Mintap Sing Sing, I say Awas, I say Ovas, I say Patah Neta Unra, I say Henry, I say Ramanatu, I say Thunderdog, I say Thunderbird, I say Sunbear, I say Cthulhu, I say Yog Satos, I say Hasta, I say, hold on, Near Little Hotel, I say Yog Satos, I say Great Old Ones, I say Great Ones, I say Osea, I say Patah, I say Tahuti, I say Mayat, I say Mut, I say Menavith, I say Mintu Sivara'a, I say Nanu, I say Soot, I say Soot Nessi, I say Set Nubit, I say Newt, I say Apit, I say Tyre, I say Anana, I say Hercules, I say Prometheus, I say Het Heru, I say Anpu, I say Atet, I say Nepturt, I say Neptes, I say Bar Sutek, I say Melchizedek, I say Sutek, I say Abd-Urt, I say Harsefi, I say Abra, I say Amen-Ra, I say Amen-Renthensa, I say Unkumi, I say Unkulukulu, I say Cthulhu, I say, okay, hold on 1 minute, let's go. Brahma, I say Rudra, I say Shiva, I say Mithra, I say Vishnu, I say Bravini, I say Ramachandra, I say Siva, I say Inasuda, I say Sita, I say Hanuman, I say Lakshi, I say Jinsaya, I say Dambawalawedo, I say to all gods known and unknown, I say 1, 2, 3, start calling out your ancestors that they passed on. 1, 2, 3. I say, 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 Ashe. Ashe. To all gods known and unknown. Ashe. To all ancestors known and unknown. Ashe. To the Roderites. Ashe. To the Petrorites. Ashe. To the Congo-rites. Ashe. Okay. All right. So now, first of all, I have here, and if you can get a chance, when you come up after the lecture, whatever, this is the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot deck. Now, in this is a superior book also, too, by Louis Martini and Sally Ann Glassman. That's Louis Martini and Sally Ann Glassman. It's called the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot deck. So, in actuality, you can also use this to read, or you can also use this as a form of you can use them as a form of a altar. Also, too, but I highly recommend getting this thing. I think it's like $29.95, and it's $29.95, and it's by Destiny Books. But it has the book and the tarot deck in it. The New Orleans Voodoo Tarot deck, and I highly recommend getting this also too. Anything you get with Vodun, it's best to pick it up for the simple fact that they make sure that there's only like I say, 3 major books in print at all time, and then they have other miscellaneous books, but there's not that much in print at all times for the simple fact they made it a point not to because of what went down in Haiti. You see what I'm saying? What went down in Haiti, because they also know, and I told you this the other day, they also know that if this shit kicked Napoleon in the behind, you understand what I'm saying? That it does work. And in so many words, how it was done, they actually did fight the war, physically fight the war, but they also had the spirits on the side also, as well as you know the story with Cuba Castro. He had some Yoruba priests and all backing up. I think he later on one time tried to get rid of the priesthood. Tried to get rid of the priesthood and all, but in the initial stage, the reason why he was successful to go up against the United States was because he worked with the actual magic also too. You see what I'm saying? So, but we want to also give a shout out or an ashe to one of the 3 major contributors of that war and the war leaders of Haiti. From 1891 to 1791 to 1804 that took Haiti, so we want to give a special ashe out to them as the ancestors going on. Toussaint L'Ouverture, ashe. Desaline, ashe. Christophe, ashe. And also we want to, I think also there was one called Mutu, I think, Muntu or something like that. Ashe. Yes, we want to give a shout out with them also too. Want to finish up on some things that we dealt with the other night also too. What happened with us falling to this particular realm? And when we fell to this particular realm, be sure to note that we didn't fall as most people think that we fell from a certain astronomical point in space. We didn't fall from a certain astronomical point in space. That astronomical point in space is still here and always here, because the Dogon said it, as well as the Etruscans, which is the Etruscans is your original black Romans and Greek. We didn't fall from that point in space. That particular point in space was covered over with the physical realm later on. So the fall, or even the flood, is the physical dimension covering over the spiritual dimension. You see what I'm saying? So the fall was not necessarily a geographical location fall, but it was in actuality a gradual fall from the spiritual realm to the physical realm, as well as the most scientific part about that is talk about the vibratory rate slowing down. Everything vibrates to a certain degree. So there's even reports in ancient mythology that the war in heaven was fought right here on earth. It's just that it wasn't a physical earth at that particular time. You see what I'm saying? At that particular time. Now, they proved the whole Pangea thing as one tectonic plate. That was proven. Hell, it was proven in 1912 But what, see, and this is the way the European does things. It was proven in 1912 that the earth was one landmass. But the guy who proved it based on the earth being formed on certain tectonic plates, and as you have earthquakes and different things that happen on the earth, and over gradual vibrations, the earth separates and you have continental shift. But we had one landmass and one people. This guy proved this in either 1907 or 1912, one at a time, but they didn't, I think it was 1912. But the guy was a geologist. No, he wasn't a geologist, he was a meteorologist. So he studied the weather. The geologists at the time suppressed his work because they didn't come up with it. You see? So they was bickering and saying this man was crazy and this didn't happen, although they knew he was right, but this was a professional warfare that the European does anyway in learning institutions. It's like Richard King. Richard King said he read the book of the guy said how significant the pineal gland was. He said he was in the classroom. I think it was, I don't know, it was Yale or one of those places. I can't remember where it was. And the guy was in the classroom, and the guy said that the pineal gland has no significant value. And then Richard King got out of the classroom during the break and walked over to the library, and this guy had an entire section of his entire life's work was based on the importance of the pineal gland. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about European, like Dr. John Henry Clark said, they just didn't colonize us, they colonized the information on the planet. So they held on to this particular stuff, these geologists, until they all died out. And then after they all died out, some young assistant comes and gets the papers and the works for this guy, and they break it in 1970, and it's a fact. But even breaking it in 1970 to the intellectual world, we just now understanding these particular things and all, but then again, that don't necessarily mean anything because we are not an intellectual people, not necessarily black people. So you got to realize a lot of these things, and it's not just attributed to black people. We live in an illiterate society. That's a society that can read but don't read, and also it is the government's goal to make sure that so much romance and so much entertainment stuff is on the shelves, because if you tap into the sciences of your history, if that's the only thing to read, you would read that. So they give you so much stuff like this black guy, this black gay guy. Every black woman got this guy's book. What's that guy's name? Yeah, some guy. Every black girl is clutching this gay guy book. Ralph Ellis. No, not Ralph Ellis. That's old. This new guy everybody reading. Huh? Harris. Robert Harris Ealing. So you got to understand that that's a conspiracy. Not only is that a conspiracy, when you read that, you take on the energy of that person's mind. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, you can understand how lesbianism is on the rise. And don't get me wrong, because the black capital of homosexuality is Atlanta, Georgia. You see what I'm saying? Is Atlanta, Georgia. But we're talking about now an epidemic that's rising from the sisters under this premise that if the brothers don't treat me right, I'll just have to go to a sister that will. And what we don't understand is this is not something that is going on in our community. This start up in our community based on some trials and tribulation. This is government mind control. It's just like I was speaking up in Newark. And the brother say, wait a minute now, it's one thing that you know pretty much a lot of gay guys growing up. But this brother was like, all of a sudden, 7 of his friends just turned gay overnight. So these brothers approached me in Newark and was saying, hey man, we believe that the government is turning the brothers and the sisters into homosexuals. And we understand based on mind control and subliminal seduction. And I did this during the time of 1980 to 1988, I basically was a collegiate baby. I lived on the college campuses. And because I went to 2 black colleges, the majority of the people that surrounded me as far as people was all black people. So my desire was channeled only to sisters. And literally I started seeing the strangeness of the European woman when it came around. I didn't have no desire because everything is based on programming. And then, I was going to, I was signing the shoe deal with the brother up in New York, the Jew boy that they had me. And I was going up in New York. He said, well, you got to come pick these shoes off the wall. So we got them up there, but you have to come pick them off the wall and stuff. So I flew home for the South Carolina for, like, I said, well, I'm going to chill out. He said, well, you don't have to come up here until October. I said, well, I said, I'm out of school, don't have anything to do. I'm going to go home for a month. So that whole month, all I did was just sat in the place, and sat at the crib and just watch cable, because I was waiting to fly to New York. And I watched cable, and it was interesting. At the end of that month, by watching the cable and watching the TV, I automatically could fathom the desire of a white woman being beautiful. Then we start going, there are pretty women in every race. And this was just a case study. But what it was is, not only is it, and see, they're proving this now, because see, I told the people, I said, you go get the movie They Live. And in the movie They Live, there's one key in the movie They Live where, John Carpenter's 1988, there's one key in the movie where, and you miss it because it's right on the TV set. It's a preacher or something on the TV set, and it keeps shorting out. And he said, we're being taken over by an artificial intelligence that resembles sleep. Well, on the other hand, it also, your archetype on what you desire, because your desires is based on, especially, I think a lot of males can deal with this because we deal with a perception of beauty on what turns us on. And that's just that masculine, women deal with feelings, and they deal with certain things, and a woman say, and they even had studies where a woman say, well, the brother face got to look right. You see what I'm saying, or something like that. But my point is the brother has to have this entire package, especially by being in this particular Eurocentric mindset. So therefore, they understand that they can channel certain subconscious images where your archetype of what you think beauty is, as well as what you think is nice looking, or what you think is the standard of beauty. Although you're saying in your mind, I love my sisters, there's a psychological aspect that's going on that subconsciously you design the white woman. Then you can see the actual epidemic that's also going on. You see what I'm saying? The epidemic that's going on out here. You see, so this is one concept based on the actual mind control that we see. It's also in the movie, well, they show an aspect of it in the movie, what's that, Fight Club, which is an excellent movie. So the people is not looking at this movie as with a certain eye to try to understand its esoteric meaning. You just think it's just a bunch of white boys beating themselves up. But in the movie, there's a whole lot of things going on, and it's all basically in one man's mind. And he creates another ego or alter ego that he literally thinks is another person. So it's a case study in psychological analysis, and I think is it on video yet? Is it at Blockbuster? You see what I'm saying? Because now we have we also have the Yakub story, another version of the Yakub story, other than the H.G. Wells one, the Island of Dr. Moreau. But we also have the Yakub story, or we also have the caveman story of the Moors going up and civilizing them in the movie that's on cable now. What's the name of that movie? 13th Warrior. The movie 13th Warrior. So we have that also now for the people that missed it to go see, as well as the movie Ravenous, which they eat the blood. They eat the blood, or they eat the person's flesh and literally get powerful enough that even bullets. And so it's interesting because we was thinking that this was actually some fictitious stuff based on the vampire novel. But in actuality, we even have it in certain books. In 1939, a cult book called The Secrets of the Golden Flower, where the guy actually mentions that. Where if you eat the flesh of a person, you get superhuman strength. So what happens is it's just like a person that's just geeked up on a certain drug. It might take 4 or 5 bullets just to bring them down. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about this particular strength and this particular energy as almost like having a dual self. You see, so that movie Ravenous is a case study as a case study in this. Now, they mention it in the movie about the Native Americans have this thing, if you eat the body, you go stronger, but they don't mention, they don't document, well, what Native Americans that have this particular information. And the Native Americans that have this particular information is your Hopi Indians. And the name of this particular transformation is called Pasquati, I think. Pasquati, where basically it is the science of eating another body and gaining human strength. You see what I'm saying? So it survived in the Hopi Indian, although the movie Ravenous, they will come in, but they won't give you the name of the Indian. They just say, well, there's a Native American legend. But they won't give you the name of the Indian, so in your mind, you're just thinking it's another fucking movie. But it's in the Hopi Indian stuff. And might I add that, here it is again, there's only 2 major books that was put out on the Hopis. One was in 73, and there's another one that was put out on the Hopis in 1997. It's called a Hopi Survival Kit. And that's the main one that they had a Hopi elder that lived until he was 100, and in 1993, he invited this white author in to give them the secrets. Why it was the white author? Because they understand prophecy, that this guy has the type of economic backing to get the book out to the public so you can get the book. You know what I'm saying? You give it to a brother, hell, it might take 3, 4, 5 years just to damn publish. Because first of all, you go to a white publisher with it, they're not going to publish it because you black coming to them with it. You go to a black publisher, and they don't see the importance of it. You see, it's like the brother that wrote the book Ancient Future, which is the book that's out here on the Hermetic text. But the other brother, they went to Black Classic Press, and he held it for a while because he didn't see the value in it, because he's into history and wasn't into the esoteric teachings. You see what I'm saying? So that book, the Hopi Survival Kit, came out in 1997. Yeah, 1997. So that particular book is available also too, for the people that actually want it also too. One of the keys that we talk about here is the entire program, or the entire foot to make you turn from the dark side in the whole Star Wars thing, both in 97 when they re-released it, as well as in 1999 when they re-released the whole Phantom Menace thing. And that whole key is, and it's piggybacking off what I said about 2,000 years ago, the Roman government outlawed all what you call underworld mythology, which is the subconscious mythology. So religion is nothing if it is not going to the subconscious mind and you reactivating the spiritual aspect of your being. So the best way to do that is to give the people the subconscious aspect, wipe out the subconscious aspect and play more on the moral aspect. Now, like I also said in the lecture, the Sunday before, the reason why we was even talking about playing down on the moral, because the simple fact that the Africans had a rites of passage. Certain things in the society was taboo based on their nature. So certain things we just didn't do. You understand what I'm saying? So therefore, there was not necessarily the major emphasis. You see what I'm saying? That whole thing based on Maya is actually an esoteric principle. Take, for instance, you got your 47 negative confessions. The 147 or 47, it depends on which one, you know, your 100 is basically 147. The historians from the last 10 years was thinking that the priest was interested in reciting these of the things that they did not do. The esoteric thing was, it was what you call a mantra, a vikar, or what you call the 99 names of Allah, or whatever. And the science to it was this. It was almost impossible for you in a physical body not to do 147 things, because a physical body, it's almost impossible for you to do those, not do 147 things. That means you'd just be dead. The mystery to this is it wasn't that he did not do the 147 different things. It's called negative confessions. It was talking about his soul. His soul is pure and is on the inside of him, and no matter what the physical body did, the soul was pure, and the soul did not do those things. Because this is only a house and a prison of the soul. Basic Metaphysics 101. You see, so even though the physical body, there's certain physical things that functions on this thing, on this planet, that it's almost impossible not to do 147 things. But what it was is the Afrocentric scholars was taking the Christian model and looking at ancient science. And they couldn't understand the concept that these people was interested in liberating the soul. These were the most illumined people on the planet. They were called a sage race, which means priest. A priest race is not necessarily interested in the mundane aspect of what you call the Maya, the matrix, the illusion that doesn't exist anyway. He's only interested in the soul aspect. So it was his soul that hadn't done these 47 things, not him himself. But then again, by us taking the 10 Commandments, which is 10 of those particular ones based on the Mosaic law that was copied from the 147 negative confessions, we was looking at the same thing as this is what the Egyptians didn't do, just like the Christians say you shouldn't do this. And that concept is a later 2,000-year-old concept. You see what I'm saying? So what we're talking about here based on dogma, a dog don't need no book to be no dog. There's certain things that we did that was taboo based on rites of passage. Certain things right now you do because you were raised a certain way. You did, I guess that's the way you brought up. Case in point, I come from a family of education. So at the age of 10, it was not whether I was going to college or not. It was what did I want to do? What did I want to do based on when I got to college? Now, I know it's all bullshit now. But I'm still trying to tell you that you can raise a person in a family structure to the point whereas they don't even have to worry about the certain rudimentary levels of what they're going to do with the, what process they're going to take. It's more of what adequate process, you see what, not process they take, but what are they going to actually do when they take that process. You see what I'm saying? So my point is we had a social order. And we can prove that because John Henry Clark said they didn't even have a jail. So that means that the African didn't spend all his life worrying about certain moral aspects. Even when it comes to the whole concept of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the Arab, when you talk about Islam in these particular books, they're only just copying the nature of the black man and black woman. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, just like you have certain elements in certain animals that's just going to do certain things regardless to training. It's just going to come online. But we also have latent things in us, and we know that now. That's going to come online. Plus, in actuality, by us being one clairvoyant society and was able with mental telepathy and one consciousness at one time, we already had the encoded consciousness of the archetypes of the collective unconsciousness did not necessarily be astray. A lot of these books was written for later day races who was coming out of the caves, who needed a book just to be human, because it's not human. But if you are human and your process is what you do based on who or what species you are, they spent more time dealing with the soul because it was the soul which they had been separated from and they got to not know. That was the part that was deteriorated. And so when we went into Kemet, we was looking at this particular stuff, and especially the last 10 years, we was looking at it with Christian, Judeo-Christian, and Islamic mindsets. And so we was thinking it was all based on, they did certain things on a humanist, harmonious value, and they did, yes, they did, but they did those particular things just based on the nature. It was taboo not to do certain things. But when you see all that stuff on the wall, they was not taking thousands of years to record human behavior. They was talking about esoteric sciences, of the soul. You see what I'm saying? Esoteric sciences of the soul. So the 47 negative confessions was not that they standing there saying, I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that. It was a ritual, and it was what they call a wazifa, or what they call a mantra. They would recite these things based on the soul not doing these things. And remember, they said to make a God live is to call its name. So the God is the soul within them. And so basically they was referring this particular information to the archetypes of the collective unconscious. You understand what I'm saying? Of the collective unconsciousness. As a matter of fact, this particular papyrus here, the Beaker Reed papyrus, Revel in the Soul by Beaker Reed, there's a guy in here, and he's having a conversation with his soul. And he's tired of life, and he wants to end it all. And the soul is trying to convince him to live, not because the soul says that life is sacred. And what has happened is the soul has gotten to a state, or a dormant state, or primal sleep, till it doesn't want to be disturbed, and it doesn't want to be removed from its prison. That's about like you. Somebody come to get you from hell, to take your ass to whatever heaven state, and you go kicking and screaming. That's much like you rejecting knowledge and information because you become comfortable in ignorance. Well, the concept of the concept of the rebel, the rebel of the soul, was to wake up the actual soul, because he wanted death, because he was tired of living in a realm that he understood was a prison. Now you're saying, well, how is that? But remember I told you in the Tibetan Book of the Dead that, what does it say? The Tibetan Book of the Dead, it says what? I want to read it again. Enlightenment. The enlightenment results from the realizing the unreality of existence. Same thing the movie The Matrix was talking about. That's called Maya. You see what I'm saying? That's called Maya. You see. So this rebel in the soul, if you understood what was going on, then this rebel in the soul, the rebel was his intellect. It was also the kundalini energy, the fire that's also rising up the back of the spine that rebels and burns up. You see what I'm saying? The physical body at a certain time that you raise to a certain level. You see, white people that can't take the process is called internal combustion. They burn up. You see, but also too, the rod splitting the Red Sea is the same story. The Red Sea is the blood vessels in the back. You ever see the blood vessels they show when you see, and the rod splitting the Red Sea, you see, now what is the rod? Moses' rod split the Red Sea, but Moses tell you, I lift up serpents in the wilderness. That's the kundalini energy rising up the Red Sea to the promised land, which is the pineal gland, the seat of the soul. You see. Now the seed of that is down in your lower gastrointestinal tract, up under your shit sack. Do you know that number one, the only thing that is actually functioning right now is your soul and the intellect that's being emitted from it. Do you know where that soul is? It's up under your lower intestinal tract in your root chakra. You ever heard this thing that Christ born in a manger, and a manger is full of shit? You see what I'm saying? Well, the soul is down there. That's who you are. That means that the rest of this shit is literally an incubator machine, or one of them things, the cryonic machine, while your ass sleeping. You see what I'm saying? And you functioning on that level. But so Christ, which is your soul, that's what the Christos seed means. Now, one key about the Christos seed, and I mentioned this the other day, and this is very key. The Christos seed is a destroyer. It is a seed that is your primal soul that originated with you before the beginning of this universe. Our world was created with off of several other primal worlds. That was in the book of the Kabbalistic text. Gershom Scholem talks about it in the Kabbalism, Kabbalah, on Kabbalah and its symbolism. Gershom Schrollum's book. It said that our world is built off of several primal worlds before the known universe was in existence. Now, that soul comes from beyond creation. It is the Alpha and the Omega. Now, that makes it an outside entity or an alien. So this whole thing based on alien is metaphysical. It just means something that is beyond not only just the earth, but the primal universe. And any alien seed that goes into a body, into the host of a body, if it's from the outside, you understand what I'm saying? A lot of times if it doesn't pass through the body, it will later on destroy the body. So your soul is like a primal cancer. It's like a primal cancer. So even in a lot of Hebrew mythology, they talk about the unclean spirits. Those unclean spirits, you was thinking there were some evil spirits. Those unclean spirits is the essence. What do they mean by unclean? They mean, we're talking about scientific here. The unclean means that it was from outside of the known universe and it is alien to this culture. There's a whole book, Hans Jonas, Gnostic Religion and the Alien God. They talk about that. So what is this alien God they're talking about? The whole New Age people have put a spin on it and you thinking of some bug-eyed people. Meanwhile, they're telling you about the actual aliens, but they're telling you what specific aliens it is. When they say reptilian, they're not talking about no lizard people. They're talking about the same kundalini energy that brings the alien seed up to the spine, to the seat of the soul. It's called the Bindu seed. You see, in the book Serpent Power, Arthur Avalon's book Serpent Power, you will see it up in there. The Bindu seed. What is it? It is a subatomic particle, nuclear particle, and that is the crystal seed, also called the philosopher's stone, the rock of ages. The stone that the builders reject will become the cornerstone. It's called the hermostone. You see, it's called the hermostone. It's called the demon seed. It's called the seed of Satan. Why is it the seed of Satan? Because it is cast down in the lowest part of the doggone body. In torturous hell. Torturous or hell or Hades is also not only is it the deepest part of the subconscious mind from out here, but it also goes as far down as the lower intestinal tract. You see what I'm saying? As the lower intestinal tract. And this is the seed that will later on destroy the universe. As it told you in the book, The Presence of Sheba, The Presence of Sheba by O'Flaherty's book, the seed that will destroy the universe. You see, the word Damien or demon, also is translated the Hermostone. Herma is Hermes, Hermetics, which is Tahuti. The Hermetic magic or the Hermetic science is also melanin because it has to deal with alchemy. So the Hermostone, or the Damien stone, is nothing but the eye of Heru and all of this particular science. One great master that you don't see him in his books too because they ban him. And how I say they ban people, like they ban Gerald Massey and the Alvin Boyd Kuhn, how they ban people basically is they don't put you in anybody's bibliography. One of the greatest scholars on the whole pineal gland is Hilton Hotima. They got several books out there on Hotima on the table. One of the greatest scholars on the entire pineal gland, so therefore he gets banned. Until now, none of these New Age books, they might mention it one time on the pineal gland, but they never mention anything about melanin. You see what I'm saying? Or the pineal gland. That's for a reason. You see what I'm saying? Because they are understanding, and even to the point where, as Hilton Hotima tells you, that the calcified pineal gland is like a flabby paste. Like a flabby paste. You see what I'm saying? Also, too, your calcified pineal glands also, too. That is also why you have to work towards getting the perms out your head, because that is what the pharmaceutical companies, or what you call the hair companies, one in the damn same, has used to shut down certain frequencies. Now, with us, energy can never be created or destroyed. So therefore, the pineal gland as well as your nappy hair, that nappy hair, you can suppress it all you want, but it still grow back nappy. Well, the pineal gland does the same thing. So you say, well, how long will it take for my pineal gland to get back right? About the same amount of time it takes you to grow some nappy ass hair, and that's real soon. But the key here also psychologically, now let me break this down. Psychologically, see, everything is coming from the subconscious level. Now we know that there's a massive epidemic, although they're getting ready to start with the movies. They got all these movies where now they're trying to get the sisters in Hollywood. All of a sudden the sisters gonna start getting jobs. But they're not just gonna get the jobs where, you know, in Hollywood, most of the black actors, they can only get jobs when they was trying to do that little black movie. So now they're going to start putting them headlining, but they're going to be pairing them up with white boys. They already did it with your girl Nia Long in the movie A Baller Room. They also did it with Supernova, where Angela Bassett screwed James Spader. They started also with her Strange Days, where she tongued the white boy down at the end of the movie. Well, they're trying to tell you in the future, at the end of the movie, they're trying to tell you in the future, the black woman is going to pair up with the white man. So that's a psychological give you the go-ahead with these black actors, because they'll do anything in Hollywood. But on one aspect also, too, we have a massive epidemic of brothers going with the white women. Epidemic across the country. One of the keys is what you're not understanding based on psychological conditioning is this. Let's say 85% of our hair that comes out of the scalp has some type of natural pattern to it. You see what I'm saying? We only got like maybe 2% of the sisters that will have literally straight hair that comes out of the scalp. Now, if your hair just so happened to come out of the scalp that way, then you can't do nothing about that. And that's the natural way your hair is supposed to be. But if your hair does not come out the scalp that way and you're permanent, there's another psychological aspect that's actually going on, and that is this. Just like you see a white boy walking around with dreads, he just don't look right. Just like you see white people trying to act black. They just don't look right. A white person can put on some mud cloth and they just don't look right. Because that is you. You are the master of that, and nobody can compete against you because that's uniquely you. Because that is the white woman's hair. I don't give a damn how much you put a perm in your hair, it's not going to look as good as hers because she's wearing her own natural hair. Now, yes, you can go get them real expensive perms, and for the first couple of days, them shits look just like that. But it's only relegated to people who got a whole lot of money now, because those things, you can't do that shit every damn week. And then that's questionable if you can, because you fuck around and be bald head. But the point I'm trying to make here is your black skin and your nappy hair is uniquely you. Only one on the planet. So that also means that you are not even you cannot even compete with the white girl. Not saying that the white girl's hair is better than yours, because it ain't nothing but fur. You have hair, they have fur. The same if you go and get the doggone any animal. You see, that's fur. So yours is superior for the simple fact you're the only people that's got it. So we're not talking about a form of superiority. What is superior is what's dominant. And since this is the original shit, we can say that this is superior. But that's fur. That's why that same fur emits a oil, just like the animal coat. You see what I'm saying? Every day. You see what I'm saying? But the key, what we're talking about here is this. You can't compete with her because that is her own hairstyle. It might be the animal hairstyle, but it's still uniquely hers. So subconsciously, now here's the black woman, 98% permed up. And here's her in competition, because she's now taking herself to the Euros realm or the white realm, and she's in direct competition with the white woman, and she's going to lose that competition because that is the white woman's unique hair, and this is not yours. And that's why your shit's starting to look nasty looking. And then you start saying, you say, man, something about her stink. No, it's because her crown is fucked up. And so the brother subconsciously is now seeing the white woman as a standard of beauty because you're in competition and you getting your ass whipped because that's not your hair. And your shit don't look as good as hers on her animal realm. You see what's going on here? So subconsciously, the brother is desiring that. Number one, now let's get this shit straight. It is the reason why you got the perm in your head in the first goddamn place, because the brother made it clear that he liked the white woman's hair. Now let's get this shit straight. You can monitor the level of a person's race based on the way the woman's head looks. Whether the motherfucker in a veil or whether it's in a goddamn fur veil. Take your goddamn pick. You see? But the key here is you cannot compete with that. So subconsciously, the white woman does look better than the black woman. If you in the animal realm and trying to goddamn go up in the competition with fur that you don't have. You just got to get in your realm. It's just like they said, we never knew how beautiful Nina Simone was until she took the perm out of her head and get the afro in the 70s. And the reason why you was with your woman in mass in the 70s is because you was natural and you was unique. So you was out of the competition of the damn white woman. You see what I'm saying? And so not only that, it went uniquely with your West African features. Or your East African features. Or you don't give a damn where you from, whatever you was wearing natural was your hair. You see what I'm saying? So the concept here is that they destroyed that aspect of you and subconsciously because you're in competition. You see what I'm saying? So what you do is you get yourself out of the total competition. You see what I'm saying? And also we know that there's not going to be no black hair drive to get black people to get their hair back. That's idiotic. Because the whole concept is not to go to the masses. We're just saying it's a black hair drive to get the ones that's conscious. You see what I'm saying? Those who do know. You see what I'm saying? Those who do know. And so also this is a psychological condition because we also know that you think that you won't be the standard of beauty now unless you bouncing and behaving. You see what I'm saying? But this is a form of the same damn journey. Because we're talking about the same psychological journey, but if we're talking about a psychological journey, and we're talking about the archetypes of the collective unconsciousness, and they tell you you must face your demons, this is a demon that was been put on us. You understand what I'm saying? Since they let you out of slavery. And Madam C.J. Walker and that whole 9 yards. You see what I'm saying? And that's why, and you know it's some psychological shit too. Now here it is, black women, news anchors, wouldn't dare go on the air with their hair cropped and in its natural pattern. But they can throw some blonde coloring up in that bitch and wear it nappy as a motherfucker. Ain't that some shit? You won't be caught dead with your shit nappy and natural pattern. But you can throw some blonde shit up in there and you'll be there all day long. Now Monica Kaufman, old ass bitch. And when I'm saying old, she too old for that bullshit. She going near 50. I'm not talking about old in the concept because 50 is basically, 40s and all that is not necessarily old. But that shit is goddamn, you too old to be acting like a damn fool. So, here it is. Monica Kaufman used to change her hairstyle every other week. As a matter of fact, the people down here, that was the talk of the town. What new hairstyle? What new hairstyle that fool got on today? She done been from the Patti LaBelle shit to the Tina Turner. Every other week. But soon as she went blonde, that shit been in there a year and she ain't touched it. You see what I'm saying? This is psychological warfare. You see, keeping people in slavery based on psychological warfare. So the spear in the Kabbalah of melanin is Darth. And that's why the whole concept is to kill Darth Vader in the 70s, then raise him up again and kill him again. Because Darth Vader, of the dark side, it represents the realm on the back side of the tree called Night Side of Eden. And that is the ancient part of the brain, the medulla oblongata. The gateways is the pearly gates, is the three major glands in the brain, which is your pearly gates. Which, as the gates of Zion, is your pineal pituitary body. But in the Kabbalistic order, they say evil comes from the north gate. That evil is not necessarily talking about a moralistic evil, that it is talking about a destructive primal force of retribution. And you know that's one of the Hermetic laws. You get the Kabbalion, they give you these laws, but they take out that law of retribution. That's one of the Hermetic laws, the law of retribution. You got an ass whipping coming. You see what I'm saying? So that's one of the primal Hermetic laws that they somehow seem to omit. You see what I'm saying? Also, too. Now, let's go on. Let's see what we got here. I remember I was, in the, we're doing what you call ongoing research. It never stops in the aspect of, when I make something, there's always something that will come up that will also validate some other information where we log it into the chronicles of validation. Let me get some of this here. What time we got? Okay, 2:05. 2:05. Now look, okay, here we go. Anne Rice, who is a part of a secret society, it tells you that, number one, her vampire, number one, comes from Egypt. Just like Eddie Murphy said, we came from Kemet. Damn, I'm sweating all up. We came from Kemet in the movie Vampire in Brooklyn. So Anne Rice, who is a part of a secret society, and so they would give her the right to fiction of that. The origin of her whole Vampire Chronicles is the goddess Akasha that comes from out of Egypt. Well, Akasha, you get the word Akashic records. And Akash means black substance, a blackening stage. So the Akashic records is melanin. So her vampire is Akasha. But Akasha is turned into the vampire by a god called Amel. Amel is a spirit who fuses with Akasha to create the first vampire. Now let me turn this shit around so you can understand the esoteric meaning. We are vampires, but we're not the vampires that suck blood. The melanin inside of us comes out in the central nervous system at night and feeds off the blood. In return, it heals the body. So the vampire that we're talking about is an inner vampire, because we are hominus nocturni, or nocturnus, which means that we are night breed. Which means that all of the central nervous system, the pineal, the kundalini, and the pineal and the pituitary gland and all that stuff kicks into action at night. And as a result, these substances, which is literally ancestors, that's where they go. You think you pouring in some other shit, they live inside of you. These ancestors, you know, they got a lot of people, as soon as their wife dies, something, they start having dreams about them. And they come to them in dreams. And they feel closer to them than they did when they was on the earth, because when they was in the physical body, they had all kind of fucked up things, and they had grown apart. But as soon as they died, they felt closer. That's because they live inside of you. So you remember in the movie Phantom Menace, they're saying, what are these chloromidians? And the guy said, chloromidians is these little extraterrestrial civilization that's inside of the bodies of all Jedi warriors. And the Jedi is the jet pillar, which is the backbone of Osiris, which is also the Kundalini people, which is also the reptilian people. And I don't want to, so we want to get that straight, because I drop on that in my shit. about the reptilians being the Kundalini race, which is on the inside of you. I make that clear. You see what I'm saying? We want to get that shit straight. But the Kundalini people are the Jet pillar, or the Jedi warriors is the black dot warriors, or the Jet warriors, which is talking about African people, the Uraeus people, the Kundalini people. But they said these Chloramidians are on the inside of us. They said that some Jedi warriors have more than others, but either way, that's what makes the Jedi warriors, is this extraterrestrial civilization. Now, we got to take this shit from New Age, because it ain't talking about no spaceships. It's talking about an invasion of these Melusines, mermaids. You ever heard that word? Water nymphs. These are ancient mythological terms broken down into scientific terms. That's latent energies that's inside of the body, basically in the melanin. Basically inside of the melanin. The Akashic records. All of this stuff is talking about man's inner nature. So the vampire that they're speaking of, you are trained to thinking this shit is about the vampire of old, the traditional. They are making these movies talking about hominus nocturni, the night breed of the people who rule the night. That's you. You see. So what it is this melanin sleeps all day. The serotonin kicks in. At night it comes out and it does its work. It doesn't have to do the same kind of work because the sun is out there and you get your light from the sun. But at night, it comes online. You see what I'm saying? So that's the same vampire thing. It's in the coffin. The coffin is the physical body, the sarcophagus of Osiris. Get Anne Rice's vampire companion. What's this? Vampire companion. Let's see. Yeah, Anne Rice's vampire companion. All this shit is up in there. Osiris, the blood of Christ. All this is up in there. But Amel fuses with the first vampire. So the first vampire is made a vampire based on receiving this melanin. You see, Rice had to read Amel was an ancient Middle Eastern deity for evil. That's the goddamn evil I'm talking about. It's right in this book, Sumerian Mythology. In the book Sumerian Mythology by Samuel Noah Kramer, they got the god Amel up in here. That's where she got it from. This evil that has nothing to do with some man running around killing somebody, or you getting hot in the ass and thinking, ooh, the devil got me. This is Samuel Noah Kramer book. So Amel is this primal Middle Eastern deity. That's where she got it from. But you go get the Anne Rice vampire companion. A lot of shit up in there, but you got to understand it's metaphysical. You see. And it's known to the witches, Mekart and Maharet, who appears in several nights in the first communion from Egypt. In so many words, let me get this right. Amel, I want to get this. I want to get the thing what he does, basically what Amel does here. Amel enters Akasha's body, seeking a place, infuses with her flesh. A cloud of droplets surround her and disappears into her wounds, and with magically heals as Amel settles into Akasha's heart and her brain. Akasha's then laps at any kills wounds, giving him her blood. So in so many words, what they're talking about here, anybody got any tissue, whenever? What they're talking about here is melanin, and what they're doing is putting a mythological concept of that, but it is known as ancient evil, not in the concept of moralistic evil. It's known in the concept of the other side, that which is opposite of day. That which is opposite of the known universe. So this evil, these unclean spirits, is literally talking about an alien from the outside. Well, you thinking some alien is coming from the outside. The alien came from the goddamn outside when the earth was created. Those that were slain at the foundation of the earth. The alien is in the darkness of the lower gastrointestinal tract, that subatomic particle. And that subatomic particle, once it enters into the seat, that's why it hadn't been done yet. So you got your Buddhists. They talk about this consciousness and they got Christ consciousness. Well, it might be Christ consciousness, but they haven't raised that primal seed. Now, how you say you can prove that? Because if that primal seed was raised, the earth would cease not to be anymore. That's how I know based on studying. It's no different than a subatomic nuclear fusion. You see, something that is alien from the outside. This something, now what is it? What do they mean by that? You take anything and you lock it up and contain it in a space so long, it ferments. And after a while, if you put any type of substance in a bottle, it can get so strong until you can see it'll eat the bottom of the damn bottle out. You see what I'm saying? Well, this subatomic seed of this monstrous seed that they call it, this dragon seed, is your soul, and it is inside of your body, fermenting over the last umpteen millions of years. And that seed is at the point that when it takes the journey upward this time, which it is doing as we speak, the earth would cease to be. That's the basic occult knowledge of this primordial seed. So the Christ could have never been on the planet, never. Because the crystal seed, to crystallize, means that you have coagulated an elixir into the perfect stone. The stone of water, the stone that the builders rejected, the rock of ages, the lapis lazuli. The lapis lazuli. Now in this book, Jung's book, Aeon, in here he proves that the goddamn melanin is the Christ. First of all, Aeon comes out at a certain point when they just discovering melanin. And a lot of this stuff went down at Princeton University. At Princeton, Princeton and Yale and all that is the same triad. You know, now, in this book, in the chapter called The Structure or Dynamics of Self, Jung's book Aeon, A-I-O-N. There's a chapter here, there's a diagram here on page 259 of a melanin molecule. And in this melanin molecule, it says A equals B, B equals C, and C equals D, and that makes the A, B, C, D, that makes the perfect molecule. A descends through the shadow. So the blackness of melanin is called the shadow. Anytime you hear the goddamn word shadow in Jungian psychology or in anything that you get based on that, that's talking about melanin. The white boys coming and now talking about your shadow side and that's all evil. You got to get into this shit means melanin because he's getting it from ancient esoteric knowledge from Kemet. So A means is the shadow, B is physics, C into B physics, C equals serpent, and D, which is the final stage, equals lapis. Lapis lazuli. And he has a whole thing talking about the lapis, Christ, parallel. But because he is parallel, the Christ with a stone, that stone automatically means melanin. The melanin is a composite of several stones together that makes up the melanin molecule. Now the key is that those stones are throughout the whole body. That's why we need water and also non-sleep deprivation to enhance that in the dream world. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But when those stones are throughout the body, they are separated senses and they are dormant and they're dumb. That's also called a dumb horus. They're throughout the body and they're dumb. And that's why the bee in ancient Greece and in ancient Kemet represented melanin. Because these bees, by themselves, they got a minor task they can do, and they're kind of dumb. But once they come together as a swarm, they make one intelligence centered around a queen bee. You see what I'm saying? Once they come into the swarm, they make one intelligence. You see. It's the same thing with the birds. The birds by themselves, they got one minor task. But when they come together, they make one intelligence. You know. So there was something spiritual going down because some blackbirds lighted on the yard. And I mean, it was literally about 1,500. Easy, maybe 2,000. I mean, the entire house and the entire backyard was covered. And they stayed there for about an hour. And after an hour, they flew off. When they flew off, they started getting up when they could sense that we getting ready to get out of the house to go to our daily whatever we do. And my brother said it is impossible for that many birds to land or light, and you don't see bird shit everywhere. So whenever you see over 2,000 black birds, that means that they were there for a spiritual purpose. But when they come together, they make one intelligence, just like a spirit. They can even fly in pyramidal formations. You ever seen them fly like a pyramid? Well, the bees the same way. One, they got one minor task. But when you put them together, they make one intelligence. But a bee does what? It makes a perfect honeycomb. And look at the honeycomb and look at the melanin molecule. Same shit. This is the basic melanin molecule. Look at the waffle cone. But at the center of that cone is what? Queen fucking bee. The bee is also represented as the rising of Sirius in Carl Carini's book on Dionysus. The bee. You get a lot now. Dionysus is a god that ends up in Greece, but they don't know where its origin comes from. And it's a god of sexual urges, orgies, and things that you would now call sexual perversion based on dogma and moralistic teachings. Now all of a sudden, and don't tell me they got ancient Kamite papyrus right there in Germany of all types of explicit sex acts, and oral sex is in that shit. And it's not a perversion because these are hieratic, very early. Same if you go to the temple walls, Dr. John Mumford's book. What's the name of that book? Dr. John Mumford's book. Anybody know that? Ecstasy Through Tantra. Get that book. Ecstasy Through Tantra. And this is coming from the Vedic cult. And the Vedic cults, what you call the Vedic cults, is in fact the pre-Buddhist or the ancient Kushite information that was brought there by the Dravidians. And they're the ones that put those sexual acts in later on known as the Kama Sutra. But when you go to the temple walls, they got all these sexual acts, none of it as a homosexual thing, but oral sex and all that shit was invented by us, but it was also based on sexual tantra and a spiritual rising up through sex. But that Dr. John Mumford's book, Ecstasy Through Tantra, he shows all the damn pictures to put that bullshit to rest. But they got a papyrus in Germany coming from Egypt, a hieratic papyrus of the same sexual acts. So Dionysus was a god of drink and wine. Well, isn't Jesus the god of wine? Huh? And intoxication? Well, if Jesus is a god of wine and intoxication, why the hell you can't drink no fucking wine? Since if Jesus or the Christ represents your soul. You see what I'm saying? wine and hallucinations. Dionysus breaks all forms of moral codes. Well, I got news for your black ass. Dionysus, if you trace it, that is fucking Osiris, because he's cut up into 14 pieces and thrown all over everything. But I know what the fuck I'm talking about because I study. You see what I'm saying? So Dionysus, and if you want to get funky, Dionysus is also in, Dionysus is traced to India as Rudra. And in that book, we'll give you the goddamn book. You don't have to believe shit. In this book, which is Dionysus, because you know Horus is nothing but a later day manifestation of Osiris. It's the same energy. One is lying dead and one is risen up. Now, Siva is the last, is the lost traces of that. And this mug in here ain't nothing but a straight up pimp. Metaphysical pimp, well, goddamn. That's what fucking Siva is, metaphysical pimp. That's scholarship.